Well, hi there, everybody, and thank you for joining me for our podcast, Love Letters to Pam, the Jack Church Show. Of course, some of you may not be necessarily listening through the podcast, through Spotify, iHeart, something like that. You may be watching via our YouTube channel, Traveling with Jack and Pam. And of course, always, if you're watching there, please do subscribe. I certainly do appreciate it. I'm coming to you today from beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. And you can see I'm standing out here just off the edge of a golf course with mountains off in the distance there. It's a hot day. It's about 105 degrees, believe it or not, but it really doesn't feel that bad. I think I've mentioned before, Pam and I always liked hot weather, and this just doesn't really bother me that much. It's a dry heat. I know there's a joke about that somewhere, but it really does make a difference when you don't have humidity and the temperature's above 100 degrees. Now, I'm talking to you about change today because I've once again made another change. It was a hard decision. After almost 2 years being back in the Nashville area after leaving television, it was a good experience. It was nice to reconnect with a lot of friends and family. And of course, yes, I got to see our son and daughter on a regular basis. But there was something still kind of gnawing at me inside that said, there's still something out there that you need to pursue. Pam and I, for years, had said we'd someday like to live in the Phoenix area. Phoenix, Scottsdale, that is. Well, there's lots of communities around here you can pick from. And we wanted to do it because, again, we just loved warm weather to hot weather. And we liked the fact it was warm and sunny year-round. And I have found that sunshine is one of those things that does affect my demeanor a great deal. Some people are not as affected by weather as others, but for me, especially after losing Pam, I found that weather really did affect me. Now you might be saying, well, that's just silly. You need to just get over it. You can't be so flimsy that you think weather is going to control your life. And that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that those of us who've lost someone significant to us, we're now in a situation where we're responsible maybe for just yourself at this time. However, you may still have kids at home and things like that and other obligations, or you're watching after an aging parent. You may not be in that same situation. My situation, though, is that basically it's just little old me these days, and little old me can pretty much do anything that I would like to do. No, I had to do a few things to make this happen, but bottom line is I finally did make that move to the Phoenix area. Now, the first day when I got here, just a few days ago, as I got up the next morning after staying in a hotel that night, and I went over to the place that I'd rented to live in, I walked in and I went, oh my gosh, what have I done? Why did I do this? And then I had to remind myself, no, this was something Pam and I wanted to do. And then you might be saying, well, that was your dreams, yours and hers dreams. And yes, it was. But something inside me said, no, you need to do this. You just need to make the change. And oftentimes we are so scared to make a change. I mean, when I made the move from Oregon to Nashville, that was a hard decision. It was a little scary, but then again, I was going to a comfort zone, so to speak. We'd grown up near Nashville. Friends and relatives were in the area, and it was all good. Now, this is not to say that I don't enjoy being around our relatives and my kids and friends and things like that. That's not what this is about. I want you to know that this was about more just kind of me, kind of finding a little deeper inner peace. And here we are now 3 days later, and I'm not thinking, oh my gosh, what have I done? I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what was I waiting on? Yeah, it's only been 3 days, but I'm already starting to feel a sense of, yes, this is where I'm supposed to be for this time in life. In fact, I dreamed last night about Pam all night long. It was kind of crazy dreams, so to speak. But I want to believe that maybe that was her way of letting me know, hey, I'm glad you decided to do this. Now, the beauty of this is I was able to keep my job. I still travel a lot with my work, and my employer could not have been more gracious. And that, of course, played a big factor in this as well. However, once I decided that I wanted to make this move, and I felt in my heart and in my mind that it was the right decision, I was more than willing to, if I had to, give up my job because I felt that strongly about this decision. And right now, in this first week, after a couple of days of being very nervous and wondering if I did the right thing, I know it was the right thing to do. Now, if you're watching this and you're struggling with decisions, one of the worst things we can do is to keep putting off a decision. And I'm the world's worst at that. I always have been. Pam was the one that could make a snap decision. She's the one that always said, keep looking forward, don't look backward. We all know the old saying, if you're looking backwards, the view never changes. Look out the front of the windshield, it's always changing. So for me, it's changing again. And yes, I know we moved throughout our married life. And now here we are again, 2 years later, and I'm moving again across the country to Phoenix, Arizona. But I'm just here to tell you, as scary as it was, as much doubt as I had in it, that little inner voice that kept telling me to do it, I believe has been right after all. Because believe it or not, already in 3 days here, I've met more people in the apartment community that I'm living in than I met in 2 years in the apartment community I lived in the Nashville area. I've met some really, really nice people. Now, another difference is too, Phoenix, while it's got believe it or not, the median age of Phoenix is actually a bit younger than Nashville. However, there's a larger demographic of people, say in their 40s, 50s, 60s, single, widowed, and divorced, and that was also an attraction for me, and I've already noticed that. Yes, I see a lot of young people, but I also see a lot of people more in my demographic as well, and I've been connecting with them. Now at the apartment community where I moved into, I've met some young people, I've met some middle-aged people, and I've met some really old people as well, and they've all just been delightful, and that's felt good. It feels like already I'm starting to get a little sense of community, but it's going to take some time. And Pam and I do have some friends here as well that we've known over the years. Our adopted grandmother Lola, all of 94 years old, she's still alive and kicking, and I look forward to spending some time with her. And as I mentioned, my kids actually love visiting Phoenix, so I don't think I'll be hurting for any visitors here, and I'll still see them as well. That thing about distance, well, today they've got this thing called jet airplanes. I can be back there in 3 or 4 hours, anytime. But for now, I'm going to enjoy my new home, the Phoenix, Scottsdale area. So far, so good. And I've got high hopes that I think it's even going to get better. I just really do. And that's what we have to have, is a positive outlook on life. We just have to, as hard as it is. Now, if you're thinking, gee, it looks like he must be moving on from Pam. And I'm like, oh gosh, no. In fact, last night as I was unpacking some boxes, I broke down and cried because I ran across some of Pam's things that I'll never part with. And I was telling her, sweetheart, I wish you were here to help me do this unpacking. But as I've mentioned before, God writes the script and we don't get to edit it. Apparently God's script had me coming to Phoenix, Scottsdale by myself. But in a sense, I want to believe that Pam may be with me. I don't know, those dreams seemed awfully real. And I feel that, I don't know how to describe it. I just feel her presence. So I guess the bottom line to this message is, don't be afraid. Living in fear is a terrible thing. If you're thinking about making a change, and it doesn't have to be you're moving off to some new city or moving across the country or doing something crazy like me. It may mean you're thinking of selling the house that you were in with your loved one, or the condo, or the apartment that you're in. You're thinking about maybe just moving across town. It'll be hard. It'll be scary. It'll be difficult. Trust me, I know all that. But once you do it, it will be a freeing feeling that you will get. And that's what I have now. And I want to again stress to you, Pam's in heaven. I'm down here. She's living a beautiful life up there. And I'm so happy for that. Yes, I still wish I was with her. But because I'm here and you're still here too, we've got to keep on living. Remember again, I love what one of my friends said one time, an elderly friend of mine. Pity parties are just fine, but the problem is nobody wants to come. So we can still have our little private pity parties, but let's try and, not have as many. That's about it. As I always say, I'm not sure if I helped you or not. I hope I did. Please tell others about the podcast if you'd like to share it with them. We also invite you to leave reviews if you've downloaded it from one of the podcast providers, and share our YouTube channel, Traveling with Jack and Pam. And as I always say, let's make it a great day. Better yet, a better tomorrow. And bye now from my home, my new home for the time being, in Arizona.